What's up, guys? Trevor here, E-commerce Paradise. Today I'm going to do a podcast, and it's going to be live on Facebook group as well, so I hope you really enjoy this. Basically, what happened this morning was I was sitting down and watching an online course on my tablet while I was drinking some coffee, and it's called Funnel Hackers Cookbook. You can go check it out, funnelhackerscookbook.com. It's actually a free course, a free set of YouTube videos put on by Russell Brunson. He's the owner and evangelist behind ClickFunnels. So in the courses, he basically teaches you how sales funnels work and how to use his software called ClickFunnels to create them. It's really cool. And the coolest part, of course, is that it's completely free education. And this kind of education is kind of like learning a trade. And it's something that you can learn and use the rest of your life to make money. And it got me thinking, the classic approach to society and culture is that you have to grow up, go through high school, get a degree, graduate, and then you go to college and you go for a few years, you get a degree, and then you go for your MBA if you want to get into business, or you go for a master's degree or something like that, and then maybe even a PhD after that. And then, of course, you're banking on the idea that your skills you learn and your education you learn in that college degree course is going to get you a job in the workplace afterwards. And while it is true that going to a university is great for networking, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a job in the workplace after that, because your skills that you learn at school might not even be completely relevant to the needs of the workplace after you graduate college. And so that's kind of the big hassle, big pain point for a lot of college students these days, is that they pay a lot of money for degrees, and then they get out, and then all of a sudden they have a really tough time finding jobs. And this goes on all over the place, all over the world, but in the US it's really bad. And it's because degrees, they cost you so much money, and a lot of people actually have to take out personal loans, student loans, to get these degrees, and they end up being, multi-$10,000 in debt by the time they're out of school. And that sucks, because if you don't have the skills to pay off your debt quickly and then move on in life, you're kind of stuck. And being in debt kind of feels like you're being in prison, you're in chains, and you really have to work super hard at your job. You have to, try to pay your bills on time, try to avoid spending all your money so you don't go more into debt. And it can be really, really hard for middle America, people that are the middle class and stuff like that, to actually, get by in life. And it's stressful. And it really got me thinking, you don't have to go to a university to get an education. You can go to a university and get a liberal arts degree, but that's great and all. It's education. It's an understanding of the way the world works, an understanding of history and society, but it's not really a skill that you can apply to the workplace unless you're going to be a teacher and teach a liberal arts program or something like that later on. Getting an education really should be about, in today's world, it should be about learning skills that you can use to build a business, because you can't count on employers anymore to have jobs for you. The way the world works, and we're kind of in like a freelance society now, and an entrepreneur society, is that big businesses, they hire according to skills, and they hire according to what they need. And their needs are changing as our marketplace changes. So a big business, they need more leads, they need more sales, and a lot of this is shifting to the internet. So big businesses like Walmart and big restaurants and stuff like that, they all have to use the same techniques of internet marketing, digital marketing, to get leads and people to their location to buy their goods. And big online businesses like Amazon are actually using the same techniques to get people to go to their website and buy their goods, while they can ship it directly to the customer. So thus, the reason why Amazon is able to take a huge chunk of the retail industry is because they make it so easy for people to get their goods and services. People don't actually have to drive to the store anymore. So as you and we're solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, we can actually use those same tactics and skill sets that those huge companies have and use every day to get leads and get sales, to build a small version of what they have on the internet. And it's really neat. And the coolest thing about this is that the education that you can get online, a lot of it's free. And it should be, because we are really truly in the information age. You and I can connect, and, you might be halfway across the world from me. I'm in Thailand right now, whereas you might be, in the United States, maybe in Europe. And it's really amazing how I can connect with you almost instantly and teach you or pass upon a story or something like that. And, if you think back 100 years ago, that just wasn't at all possible. You'd have to put a story in the newspaper, and it would have to be published and passed out and distributed in over weeks. And you have to send a letter in the mail, and it would take weeks to get to somebody, especially halfway across the world. It could take months. things like that are still happening, where like if you buy a good in China, either in bulk or whatever, they have to ship it in a container ship, and it takes weeks to get to the United States. So yes, it's not completely there, but information can move at like the speed of light, basically. And that's the most amazing thing. And if you can learn how to utilize the information age, then you can learn how to gain the same skill sets that these people that, have that tens of thousands of dollars to spend on an MBA can get. And it's really incredible. You just have to know how to seek it out. You have to really, you have to want it first. You have to want it badly enough to want to learn how to seek it out. And once you get that attitude and that desire, what Napoleon Hill would call a burning desire, once you have that in your heart and in your mind, you can really seek out the information online. You can go to Google, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Facebook, and you can get education for free. Now, albeit a lot of the educational courses out there that are free on the internet are not as high quality, because a lot of people that put free education out there, number one, they're not breaking it down in a step-by-step process. So it's a little bit harder to piece the things together. It's kind of like a scattered puzzle, and you have to put the puzzle pieces together. Number two, the people that do teach free courses, there's usually a catch, right? They want to sell you something afterwards. It's either a software program, or there's some sort of an upsell, like you only get a little bit of the course for free, and then you get the rest of it is paid. And that's normal, and that's average, because they need to make a living too. But the beauty of the internet, of course, is that they can scale that business. So like you and I, we can create our own courses online, and we can make that into a product people can buy, just like they would buy a product on Amazon.com. And, it costs literally nothing to deliver, just like it does an Amazon Kindle book literally costs Amazon nothing to deliver. And people can buy that as many times as you can sell it. So if you create a really good webinar, and you create a really good sales funnel and email marketing messages and sequences and stuff like that, and retargeting ads, and you set up your whole sales funnel correctly, you can sell over and over and over again. A really good example of this, a lot of you guys are very aware, but Dropship Lifestyle by Anton Kraly, he does a really good job at the entire sales funnel process. So if you go to his website and you break down how he does the sales funnels, he has all these front-end products, and then he has his main product, and then he even has back-end products like his retreats. And he ascends you through the sales process as you go through his value ladder. And this is all stuff that Russell Brunson talks about in .com Secrets, which is really amazing. And it's really neat to go and learn how that stuff works. And .com Secrets costs like $10 or $8 on Kindle, and you can get the print book for like $10, and it's really amazing. So you can read that book and really understand how Anton builds Dropship Lifestyle, and it's incredible to go read the book, understand the strategy and theory behind it, and actually go and then break down the funnel and see like the two-step opt-in forms, the webinar funnels, the add-ons and upsells and stuff like that he has, and then the back-end product that he sells you afterwards. And then when you get those emails, it doesn't seem so spammy anymore, because you know what's going on. You know he's using like a gain, logic, fear sequence, something that Ryan Deiss talks about in his book Invisible Sales Funnel. Invisible Sales Machine, sorry. And those kind of things are really neat, because it works. It's human psychology, it's sales, but it's sales not in person. It's sales through an automated machine, an automated online business machine. And it's truly incredible. And again, you can get a lot of this knowledge for free on the internet if you just search things out on YouTube. You got to learn how to use keywords. So if you want to learn about sales funnels, type in sales funnel training, sales funnel course, sales funnel education into YouTube, and a lot of things will pop up. Don't be afraid to click on the videos. One of the biggest tips I have is to actually play things at 2x speed, so that if you're a little bit ADD like I am, and it's hard to like pay attention to things that are really boring, especially from people you don't know and don't have any relationship with, well, just turn the video on 2x and play it for a few minutes, If you think about how much time you spend on Facebook or YouTube watching random entertaining videos every day, and you were to maybe make a pledge to yourself to like break that time in half and try to make half that educational and half of it entertaining, you would be doing yourself a huge favor, and just that little bit of an extra investment in yourself, and that's what I do. So I wake up in the morning, I drink some coffee, and I usually go and watch a course, and I block everything out. I don't look at my phone. I don't look at social media at all, because I don't want to think about that stuff. I just want to think about what's the most important thing to me, and that is learning new skill sets and improving the skill sets I already have. So once you do that, you have to learn how to take breaks and let your mind rest a little bit and digest the information, but then get back into it and learn some more. And one of the key things in life is that you don't want to just be learning, but you want to also be reteaching the same stuff that you learn. in your own way. And that's where you start finding your voice and you start finding your true purpose in life, is becoming a teacher. That's what I'm doing right now, is I'm teaching people, and because it really feels fulfilling for me, because, time I would be spending normally just watching YouTube videos, maybe skateboard videos or something like that, doing absolutely nothing. Instead, I'm going to spend it creating really cool content. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating assets, which are videos that I can upload to a podcast, I can upload to YouTube, I can make into a blog post. I'm filming it live for Facebook, which is really cool. And you guys will be able to gain from that. And I implore you to do that in your own life, because whatever you learn, you can help somebody else learn who's just a few steps behind you. And they'll find what you're doing is super interesting, and you'll make fans that way, which is really cool. And if you provide a place for fans to congregate, like a Facebook group or an email list or a YouTube channel, a place for people that are into a subject to get together and talk about it, you really can create a community. And that's the most valuable asset you can have in life, is a community, or an email list. It's been said that the money is in the list, and it's true. Because for every subscriber you have, if you have a really good funnel, front-end product, high-ticket product, back-end product funnel, usually your subscriber list, each subscriber is worth about $1 to you. So if you have a list of 50,000 people, you're making $50,000 a year at the minimum, depending on your product selections. So it's really cool. And to move on, I just want to tell a bit about my story, so you guys get a deeper understanding of where I'm from and where I'm coming from with all this. I'm not just blowing smoke up your butt, but I'm really actually telling you this from experience. I've spent a lot of time in business over the last decade, and it's really become a passion of mine to share knowledge and to share information. I like hanging out with people and networking. I've failed a lot in the process. I've learned what doesn't work online, and now that I've learned that the hard way, I can now create things that are correct and not go about creating things that are incorrect and that will fail. Because there's nothing like learning things the hard way. Let me tell you, it really sticks when things don't work out, or you get humiliated because of certain things that you did that were wrong, maybe morally wrong or whatever, ethically wrong, right? And just to throw that out there really quick, business, the foundations of business is in ethics. Business ethics is really important. It's one of the things that I learned when I was going to school. So when I first got started in business, I was advised by my friend at work to take college courses. I was talking to him a lot, and he was always interested in what I was doing. And he said, hey, if you're interested in business, which I started getting interested in business in 2010 after a backpacking trip. My friend had started a skateboard company. I thought, why not start a skateboard company too? That'd actually be really fun. And I like skateboarding, and I was kind of giving up on the idea of getting sponsored at the time, because my skill set just wasn't as high as the skill set you needed to get sponsored in Los Angeles. And, that's still the same way it is today. I'm pretty good, but I'm not that good. Those guys are really, really good. And so becoming a pro skater was a dream of mine in my teen years, but then I realized it really wasn't going to pan out. And I really didn't want to throw myself down huge handrails and stair sets to try to make a living at skateboarding. And so I thought, why not try my hand at starting a business and do it in a passionate, something I'm passionate about. I knew nothing about business at the time, but I knew that if I were to connect with other people that did have a business, I might be able to get along pretty well. And luckily, I actually had a job at a sales firm, big warehouse distributor. And it was on the lock and security trade in Van Nuys, California. And I was in sales. And so I got to talk with a lot of these locksmiths because, first of all, they sell to the trade only. So the people that were the customers of that business were actually business owners, and small business owners usually, or at least employees of medium-sized businesses, but there really were no big businesses. So I was actually talking with a lot of entrepreneurs every single day, which was really fun. And entrepreneurs are very engaging people, very, very cool people, and they're excited about what they're doing. And that's the difference between an entrepreneur and an employee. Is entrepreneurs are excited about what they're doing, employees are not excited about what they're doing. They're kind of like humdrum about it usually, unless and it's different, right? There's entrepreneurs sometimes, and you get that with people, but for the most case, entrepreneurs are more excited about what they're doing. It's just a fact. So I started talking to the guy, and he said, the first thing you should probably take to understand everything is like a personal finance course, and then take accounting or something like that, because you really got to understand how money works before you can get really good at business. And it's just true. It's a business runs on profits. A business runs on income and expenses, assets and liabilities. That's what a business is made of. And if you look at any business's bookkeeping sheets, you're basically looking at the business's blood type, or you're basically looking at the innards of the business. you can go on to the stock market any day of the week and look at a public business's publicly available accounting sheets, their income statements, their balance sheets, and stuff like that. Companies like Starbucks and Walmart, any company you can buy a stock for online is legally obliged to put their income statements and balance sheets and cash flow statements out into the web, make it publicly available. So you can actually look at that kind of stuff, and it's really cool and it's fascinating sometimes. So he said, here's the thing: go and take a personal finance class, take an accounting class, and start learning how money works, and start learning how businesses work. And then start reading books by really successful entrepreneurs and businessmen about how businesses work and how money works, and then go from there, because that really was the foundation. That really is the foundation of how to start. And I took his advice, so I signed up at my local community college in Los Angeles, at Los Angeles Valley College. It's right there in Valley Village. And that was a good experience. I got really excited because before in college, I really was not excited about it. I actually flunked out my first semester of college because the courses I was taking had nothing to do with what I was passionate about. When I went to college at first, I took a couple of music courses and like music theory and stuff like that, music history. And because I was actually a guitar player, piano player, I was really interested in music. But when I took those courses, for some reason, I just was not interested whatsoever. It just didn't get me going. I was learning about classical music history, and it was probably the teacher too. The teacher was really boring. And I took a course on architecture because I'm a skateboarder, I would like architecture. And I always thought, architecture was a cool idea. And when I was younger, I kind of thought about being an architect. I read some books about architects and stuff like that. And I always looked at houses that were really big and like super cool houses. I thought, man, that'd be cool to have a house like that. Why don't I just be an architect so I can build my own? And when I took that class, it was really neat and it was nice, but really it just wasn't my passion still. It just wasn't what I was interested in. I took a photography class and I got a C in that. By the way, I got like a D and a C, and I failed the architecture class because I just didn't even show up to the final. That was pretty bad. And I went to a photography class. I got a C because I actually really like photography. That's really fun. But I wasn't that good at it back then, and I didn't really have the passion to like get really good at it and learn it a lot, unfortunately. And I'm still kind of just an amateur today with photography, even though I love taking pictures of stuff. I never really took it like seriously and try to do it professionally or be a freelancer or anything like that, unfortunately. But it's really fun. I love photography. So I got a C in that course. And then I took a course on what was it, astronomy or something like that. It was basically like the stars and stuff like that. But it had a lot of chemistry involved in it. And I remember in high school I actually flunked out of my chemistry class. So chemistry is one of the weak points. Learning how chemicals work, and it's a lot of math involved, a lot of algebra and stuff like that. And I really just wasn't good at it or interested in it. I didn't understand how that really would be relevant to my life, to real life, to working and living. So I just wasn't into it, and I actually dropped that class. But moving on, so when I started my new course in life, and this was a few years later after I first took classes, I realized that business was my passion. And it's because I knew what I wanted. I had developed this dream of being free of the 9-to-5. And it was really, really exciting at the time, because I thought, I've been working at this job for the last 2.5 years. And it's just not fun having to sit inside of an office all day or be in a warehouse, help people with something you're not really that passionate about, just so you can make barely enough money to survive in a big city where, there's so many things to do, so many people to go see and hang out with, and there's restaurants and there's things you want to buy. And it's just, to work so hard and be inside all day on these really sunny, beautiful days where I'd rather be outside, and then make barely enough money to like go do stuff on the weekends. It was just burnout. It wasn't worth it, and I wasn't learning the skills that I thought that I would need to become rich. And I started reading these books called Rich Dad Poor Dad and 4-Hour Workweek and Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People. All these books really helped me start to understand life a lot more. I was lucky, and one of my coworkers was the entrepreneur type, and he started referencing me to all these audiobooks by Tony Robbins and this one course on audio that was about micro and macro economics. And I started learning a lot more about how the world works. And, unfortunately, just up to that point, I had no idea. They don't teach you any of this stuff in high school. They taught economics, but I had no idea what it was or how it was relevant to my life. My parents never taught it to me. And so, learning all this stuff was fascinating to me. And I really liked the idea of learning how money worked and changing my mindset and attitude about money so that I could actually turn my life around and start a new life and actually escape the rat race. Because that's what, it's all about. It's about spinning on the hamster wheel every single day, same day, all day long. You're not building any assets. You're maybe building relationships, but relationships can change. People can change, and you don't have any assets in the end of the day, and you have a falling out. What was the point of all that relationship building, right? So the first class I took at Los Angeles Valley College was Business 101. And it was a class where we had to make our own business plans. So that was pretty cool. And I got to actually learn firsthand what a business plan was all about. And if you guys don't know, a business plan is very, very involved. It's pretty much every single part of your business. You have to write it out and clearly structure it in a book style format. It goes everything from the marketing plan to the financial plan. You have to pretty much come with your unique value proposition and put it all out there and sell it. Because a business plan is really written for bigger businesses. They're made to get investors to invest in your business. You want to show them that you have a really good plan, that it's a unique business. You have a good plan for becoming profitable in a short period of time, and that you know what you're doing. Because you're never going to get an investment from a VA, from an angel investor, from a VC, or from a bank if you don't have a business plan, right? But right around that same time, I actually picked up a book called The Lean Startup Method, or I think it's called just The Lean Startup. And that book teaches the idea that you don't actually have to get investment to start a business, right? And that's one of the biggest misconceptions in the business world, is that you have to have investment to start a business. You have to be able to invest in, a storefront. You have to be able to invest, if you're doing retail, you have to invest in, displays and stuff like that. You have to invest in inventory. You have to invest in insurance. You have to invest in employees. So you have to have a lot of money up front. In a physical retail storefront, trust me, I know I went through the startup phase of a storefront. It can cost upwards of, $30,000 to $50,000 at the minimum, and that's not even making a great storefront. That's making a really disorganized business. The really good ones, they cost $100,000, $150,000, $250,000. For instance, a McDonald's franchise costs $250,000 just to get in there. So I started learning about business that way. And then I moved on to learning about marketing. And I took a marketing 101 class, which was really eye-opening. I learned about the 4 Ps, price, promotion, place, and people. And I took a sales 101 course. I learned about how to pitch and do sales pitches to people, like in person. We actually got up in the front of the class and did sales pitches. He would say, okay, you sell to him. And then you have to get up there and say, what is it you're looking for? Or, this is, what's your problems? Okay, this is a solution to your problem. How about this? Okay, you ready to buy it? Okay, let's close it. And you'd have to go through the whole sales process from identifying the problem to, identifying that was a solution to the problem to actually closing them on the sale. It was really, really fun to do. Opened my eyes to sales. It opened my eyes to copywriting. And I started learning more and more. And then I took a business law course. And, oh, by the way, I got all these courses for free, almost free, because in California, they have a really cool thing called the Board of Governors Fee Waiver Program. And the Board of Governors Fee Waiver Program is set up so that anybody in California who has a California driver's license can get free business class, or free classes at college, as long as they maintain a C average, or I think it might be a B average. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember. But at any rate, I qualified for it because I'd been in the state for long enough at that point. And that was a godsend because I didn't have any money to go to school with. And it was thanks to Arnold Schwarzenegger for setting that up. The only thing I had to pay for was the health fee and the books, which books were massively expensive, but I hacked that. I went on Amazon.com and bought used books, and they were much cheaper. But some of them, like the accounting book was the most ridiculous one. It was like $150 or something like that. And the book sales programs at colleges is the biggest scam because they literally, they make a new version of the book every single year, and they add on maybe like 1 or 2 sections to it, or they like reformat it or something like that. It's the most ridiculous thing. But of course, if you understand sales funnels, you understand a college, they're selling their upfront product is their course, and their upsell, the cross-sell product is the books, right? And they're not as profitable unless they're selling the books. They're reselling the books. It's a big business model for them. So, you got to understand that and how that works and why they do that. So moving on, I took Accounting 101 finally. I only passed that with a C because accounting is very complicated. Double entry accounting methods and accounting for inventory and doing your income statements and cash flow statements and balance sheets. It could be very confusing work, and a lot of it was. And dealing with numbers, some people can and some people just can't. And I'm just one of those people that I have a hard time just dealing with a lot of numbers. I can do simple accounting, like an income statement, that's about it. So I have to hire a CPA for the business, and that's it. So after that, I took advertising. Advertising was a really good course because it opened my eyes to video advertising and print advertising in the form of pictures and copywriting. And so basically that course or that class was all about just looking at examples. He would come to class and he would show us all these different video ads that he'd seen that were really cool. And he thought, why are they so cool? Let's break it down. And a lot of it was edutainment. It was education plus entertainment. And that's why a lot of the big brands are super successful. Like, for instance, if you were watching the Super Bowl commercials, they're not just an ad. It's actually a very entertaining ad. That's why it's so popular. That's why they maintain that brand image of the Super Bowl ad. When you want to watch those, they're usually quite a bit longer and they're quite a bit more fun to watch. So that's at the core of the best advertising is edutainment. It gets people to want to do business with you because they like you, because you provided them value in the form of education and entertainment in one sitting. So it's pretty cool. And then I also took an importing exporting course, and that was really important because you got to learn about how goods travel across the world if you're going to sell physical goods. When they're imported into the States, they have to go through a whole process to get here. When they're exported from the United States to another country, they have to go through a whole process of paperwork and all sorts of stuff. I had to deal with this a lot with my first dropship store, and when we had it in a retail storefront, I had to deal with it a lot, and it was a pain in the butt. But I'm glad that I took those courses, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have had any idea what I was doing. And then the last course I'll talk about is the international business course. The reason I liked that course so much is because it really opened my eyes to the world economies. It was right around the time when the European debt crisis was happening in 2010, 2011 or something like that. I forget exactly, but Greece had to be bailed out, and there was a huge crisis there. And that was a kind of a talking point of the class the entire semester. And it was really fun because we got to watch this actual case study of international trade going down, and trade collapsing and stuff like that, and debt having to be paid off and being restructured. We actually got to kind of case study that out during the course. So that was really interesting. It got my eyes opening to how, the failing of one country can impact the failing of countries halfway across the world because of how ingrained our countries are with each other in international trade now. I mean, we truly live in an internationally connected community. Without China, America wouldn't have any of the goods that they sell. I mean, they would have some, but Chinese people sell America cheap labor, pretty much, and access to cheap labor. The American people sell the world all sorts of other things. And so we really got to break down what the import-export was in all these different countries, and get to look at the debt of some of the countries. And it's amazing to see the national debt of the United States and where the country is at, and to understand, what that means for the future generations and what the challenges are going to be for them. So all these courses, they really opened my mind to stuff. And luckily they were free. I mean, almost free. And, there's something that happens when people take a free course as opposed to paying for it. For some reason, human beings, the way that we work is that we establish a value of something according to the cost of it. And so when something's free, of course, there's no value associated with it, unfortunately. It's just weird. When something costs a lot of money, all of a sudden it must be high value, right? Because it costs you a lot of money. So unfortunately, a lot of people fall into that trap of thinking free things aren't that valuable. And so you go on YouTube and you're looking at these videos and you're thinking, yeah, whatever, it's free. It must not be that great. But if you start realizing there actually is a ton of value in all these free YouTube videos on the internet that are all about education, you can learn so much just by watching those videos, as long as you take notes and as long as you reteach them so that you can inculcate the information in your mind, and actually take action on that stuff. Yeah, you can learn a lot for free. It's really incredible. You have to engage, and you have to really become a part of it and make it a part of your life and be passionate about it in order to take advantage of that stuff. And that way you're going to save a lot of money. So I realized that. I went to college. I started watching YouTube videos. I started listening to podcasts. Because I had a half-hour commute every morning, every evening. And so I would always have podcasts in my ears. And I've done this throughout my life. But some of the podcasts I listened to back then were like Planet Money and, I can't remember them. I think maybe Tim Ferriss' podcast might have been out back then because he did the 4-Hour Work Week, but I don't remember. There was a lot of different podcasts out then, and there's a lot new ones now. Like today, there's E-Commerce Fuel and TMBA, Tropical MBA, and there's a lot of them. I can't think of off my head, but and of course the Tim Ferriss podcast. That's some good ones. But I started learning a lot more outside of college around that time because I realized that, of course, what they're teaching me in college wasn't really to become an entrepreneur. They don't really it's ironic, but in the business courses in college, they don't teach you to be a business owner. They teach you business stuff so that you can go get a job at a business. And that's the irony. That's a sweet irony, is that our society wants to teach us to be employees, no matter what. Even if it's a business course, they want you to teach to be employees at a business, to be managers, to be marketing directors, to be salesmen, whatever it is. They want to teach you to be an employee. And that's the cornerstone of our civilization, is because an employee pays taxes up front. I think that's the key thing here, is that they want you to pay your taxes up front, because then they have your taxes coming out of every single paycheck. It is the way it is. That's the way our world works. Every single country is the same way. An entrepreneur pays taxes quarterly or at the end of the year, depending on how much money you make. Sometimes, of course, you have to pay money up front because the IRS realizes you're making a lot of money, and they'll say, no, you have to pay your SE tax, your self-employed tax ahead of time because you're making a lot of money. Unfortunately, that does happen. But if you go to a tax accountant, they'll actually tell you all these great ways that you can avoid paying so much tax, which means actually by reinvesting your money that you make in your business, instead of just pulling it out and putting it in your checking account, you can save a lot of money there. You can also start a nonprofit group and offer free education or something like that. You can invest in your nonprofit group, and that's a really cool way to save money on taxes too. And some of the most rich people in the world do that kind of a thing. So keep that in mind in the future if you think you need a way to save money on taxes because you're making a lot of money online. So, all throughout this time when I was taking these courses online, I was actually starting my own business, and it was a dropship site. I didn't have any mentors for dropshipping. I was actually told about dropshipping by this guy that wanted me to go take the college courses. And he was interested in me because he knew that I was striving for greatness. And that's the kind of people you want to work with. You want to work with people that have excitement, that are true entrepreneurs, right? And so he saw that in me, and he offered me a partnership. He said, hey man, look, if you're going to become an entrepreneur, I'm going to be a part of it. And I know that you're going to be successful. And I think together that we can help each other become successful with an online business. And I didn't know how to do an online business. And I didn't know about dropshipping until I met him. I'm not sure where he heard about it, but I think he listened to a lot of radio programs that are about entrepreneurship and digital marketing and stuff like that in the LA area. And programs that I didn't really listen to. And he heard about dropshipping probably through like an ad or something like that, or just through one of the interviews. And it was pretty eye-opening to me when I realized that it was actually possible. You didn't need much upfront investment. And I thought back to that Lean Startup book that I read, and I was like, this is it. This is really cool. It's a low-cost, low-entry business model. You just need a website, supplier, and you just got to learn how to do marketing. And so I did it, and I found a website builder, and we put up a website, and I started putting up listings. It was really slow at first because I didn't know how to drive traffic with paid ads, and they didn't really have like Facebook ads back then, and there was no training courses back in 2010. So the way we did it was really slow at first. We were just driving traffic from the search engines, trying to run backlinks and stuff like that. And it didn't really work out for a while, but we got some sales by the end of that year. And when we started getting the sales and it paid off the SEO guy that we had paid for to do SEO for the site, we realized that first of all, we needed a better platform, like an actual real e-commerce site and then we needed to figure out a platform that would drive traffic through paid advertising. And so we started using this eBay alternative because I didn't really want to use eBay because there's a 10% fee, and Amazon, same thing. So I wanted to avoid that. There wasn't a whole lot of margin in dropshipping. It's like, 20-30%. So if they take 10%, that's like half your margin, And so I figured out a website called eCreator. It's an eBay alternative, and it's just a website builder, basically. Throw up products and make categories and make an about page and all this stuff. It's your own website. And they do the templates. They do the look of it, and then they actually do drive traffic to it with Google product listing ads. Albeit they don't pay much for them. I mean, I'm thinking they pay like 5 cents an ad or something like that per click. But they drive traffic, and you will get traffic to those listings. You'll get views if you keyword optimize them, and you'll get sales if it's a popular product and if there's not too much other competition doing like discount codes and stuff like that. So it actually worked out. And I started learning more about it. I started spending mornings and evenings and weekends working on the site. And then I even found downtime at work to work on the site too, because I was in sales at a back office and I had a computer. And, during the downtimes when there weren't any calls coming in, it wasn't anything work to do. A lot of my coworkers were sitting around watching YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I was actually sitting there building my site. So they didn't really know about that for a long time. I started making some big mistakes. I actually brought some of the products into work. I had them shipped from the supplier because I wanted to do videos on them. And I started actually selling them to some of the locksmiths that would come in. It was the craziest thing in the world. I thought, hey, they're not really saying anything about me building a site. I think they might know about it. I don't know. But, who knows? Who cares, right? Let's do it. I mean, the locksmiths are entrepreneurs. They didn't care. But eventually they caught on and they told me not to do it anymore. And it was interesting to have that conversation with them because they knew that I had a business on the side. But they understood because you just can't make a living in Los Angeles working a $10 an hour job. You'll literally go into debt. And so I needed a side hustle. Everybody needs a side hustle in Los Angeles. Unless you're making like 50 to 100,000 a year, you need a side hustle to survive. Or you're just going to live on the couch or live at your parents' house. But I wanted to have my own place, so I needed to make enough money to do that. So it was a struggle for sure. And they saw that. They understood it. I had a lot of conversations with my bosses about that. And they were cool with it as long as I wasn't bringing it into the workplace. If I just kept it low key, a lot of the coworkers, they would watch YouTube videos and do stupid things. And so while they were doing that, I was doing my thing, and I just kept it low key after that. I just started really getting passionate about e-commerce. I really, really saw that it could be the future for us because I realized, if something's working, you got to go towards that. And I made some mistakes along the way. I started kind of drifting around and trying to see if I can make money elsewhere too. As an entrepreneur, I think we always do that. There's the new shiny object. I drifted around and I thought, hey, let me try my hand at like a multi-level marketing company and see how that works out. I can recruit people, make passive income. And then I actually did that for about 3 months and I became that guy. And it was just weird because I was trying to recruit all my friends and stuff. And it was just super awkward. I totally alienated my friends and family and I felt kind of bad afterwards. And I just, I realized like I don't want to do this anymore, and I quit. And I decided at one point, I said, you know what, this doesn't make sense for me. It's not something that I feel passionate about. It's a bad business model. It's bad business practices. It's bad marketing. I was reading a lot of books about inbound marketing, permission marketing. And it's literally, they were telling me to do the opposite. Cold call people, force them into a business, get them to do a business meeting, force them into a seminar that they don't necessarily want to go into, and then try to close them on that. And they literally will hate you for that. So I learned my lessons there. I even tried my hand at real estate wholesaling for some time. And real estate wholesaling is a cool business model where if you can find a house that the owner really wants to sell, you can actually get a contract on it for less than what the market price is for, and then go out and find an investor to buy it from you who will then fix it and flip it. So as a real estate wholesaler, the potential is pretty high, especially in a market like Los Angeles where you have expensive houses and a lot of them going around. But of course, the competition is high too. So I really tried. I put up a website and I put up flyers too, and I did Craigslist listings. I even got a call from an investor. And I got a call from a person who was a motivated seller, and I talked to them a lot, and I tried to get the investor and the seller to connect, and it just wasn't working out. And that was the first thing, and I realized that like all the work I had put into this, I still had no clue what I was doing. Actually, I got a course on it, and I forget the name of the course now. I probably still have access to it too. Whatever. It's a guy that teaches real estate wholesaling online. Still one of the biggest markets, biggest industries out there is real estate, and wholesaling is still very alive. So I may do that again in the future. I don't know. But the coolest thing about that is you don't need a real estate license to sell it. So I thought, perfect. I don't have to go through the whole crazy process of getting a license, and I can flip houses. But of course, I just didn't know what I was doing. So I decided, you know what? I'm spinning my wheels, and as an entrepreneur, you have to realize that wherever you put your time is where your life is going to grow, right? So I'm putting my time into creating content right now because I want to create a content information business and, create software in the future and do all this cool stuff. Because dropshipping is great, and I'll always be doing dropshipping and e-commerce because there's always opportunity there. But I want to be able to teach that. I want to be able to teach marketing. I want to be able to teach all these different things. And I think that's the key to growth, is becoming a teacher in your life. And it's really fulfilling too. So I decided at that time in my life, I realized that e-commerce was the one thing I was the best at, and I needed to focus on my strengths. And so I did. And it really was the right decision to make. I started learning a lot more. It was actually right around that same time that I was able to quit my job. I kind of got fired though. I got really lucky, and it didn't intend for this to happen. I was going to work with like a suit on and all this stuff because I was in the MLM and I was supposed to go suited up, and that's what they tell you to do. They want you to suit up all the time and look funny. So I was going to work like that, and the boss was dressing, just a regular polo and jeans or whatever, looking like it was the weekend for him. And that was really funny because he got kind of upset about that. And And, I didn't care. I had an office. I could close the door. I started just closing the door and not answering the phones. I was really burnt out. And I had worked so hard in that business up to that time. I had taken care of their customers so well. I'd done I worked on some of the biggest sales, and I had some of the best sales numbers. I'd won sales contests and stuff like that. I had worked so hard for their business, to grow their business, to make them money. And what I got from them was them showing favoritism to other employees, giving them time off when they wanted the time off. And letting them off when they came in late and stuff like that. The boss even had his 2 sons working there in the office, and obviously there was some favoritism there. And he even showed favoritism, to a lot of the other coworkers. If they were watching YouTube videos or whatever live feeds of a golfing event, they wouldn't care. And then if I was working on my e-commerce site, all of a sudden it was some terrible thing. So there's some really nasty office politics going on, and I got so burnt out, and I had my business, and I realized, you know what? I think I'm ready to do this. When certain things come to a head, you have to realize that in your life that it's so much more important to do what you're best at, because the rest of the world is counting on you. Society and people, they're counting on you to do what you're best at so that you can provide the best service to the universe that you possibly can to society. And that's important. So in your life, if you're jumping around trying to figure out what you're really good at, you just got to make that decision eventually and stick to it. So that's what I did. I decided I was going to quit the job. I told my direct supervisor, who's a really close friend of mine, I said, in 2 weeks I'm going to quit. And then literally a day before I was going to quit, they had a meeting. And the meeting, they didn't want to pay me overtime, even though it was 2 hours before work started in the morning. And they were skirting the law on that a lot. And so I said, no, I'm not going to go to the meeting if you're not going to pay me overtime. So I didn't go. And they told me, you can go home. And they fired me. So it was pretty cool. I was really scared because, when you do something for such a long period of time, I'd worked there for about 5 years, things become ingrained in your mind emotionally. And that was a place of safety for me, a place where I would wake up and go to every single day, and I was safe. And I would get a paycheck at the end of the week, or at the end of every 2 weeks, and I would be able to go and spend that money. And so now life had changed, right? Every 5 years, people actually do go through a lot of these life-changing events. And that was part of my life at that time. So it was really good, and I'm really glad that it was happening, and it was about time. So what happened after that was I went full on into e-commerce. I wasn't in the MLM anymore. I wasn't trading real estate. I wasn't working a job. So I was at home every day, and I actually got really lucky, and I got unemployment after that because I'd worked there for so long, and I took advantage. So I actually had a part-time income, and it was just enough to get by, and I went full-time into building my courses, or building my e-commerce site. I started reading books by Seth Godin called Permission Marketing. I read Purple Cow. I read The Dip to stay motivated. And I read Tribes. And all that made me understand I needed to create inbound marketing by creating content, creating email lists and sales funnels and email marketing messages to bring people back to the site, to sell them stuff. It taught me that I needed to create a better unique value proposition for my business so it would stick out and actually get sales. It also taught me that, things were going to be tough and it wasn't going to be easy, and that I needed to really work hard in the beginning in order to find success later on, that nobody was going to notice right away, that there is a dip before you find success, and it's right before it happens. And you have to just work through that and have faith and believe in yourself and believe that it's all going to work out. And then, of course, the Tribes book taught me that you need to build a community, that we're counting on you to build a community, to bring people together around a certain subject or topic that's passionate to you, because there's more people like you out there, and that they are counting on you to be a leader, because people need leaders in their life. When there's a lack of leadership, people feel lost, and they go back to what, was safe and comfortable before that. So, to me, it's all about helping people, and that's what, I'm really doing this for, because it feels good. So after that, our website started growing massively, organically. And by the third year of the business, which is the end of 2013, we broke the $100,000 sales milestone. So that's about, $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month or whatever. So that was really cool, and I was just blown away by that. At that point in my life, I thought, wow, I can really make it. This is a full-time thing. It's actually possible. And in 2014, the early 2014, my wife was having a tough time at her job, and she was getting burnt out, just like I was getting burnt out. And I said, you know what? We're at that level now where we can really start scaling up. We have a lot of suppliers. We've been doing a lot of marketing. There's hardly any competition. The opportunity is there. Why don't you quit your job and work with me on the business? And she did, and I'm so glad that she did, because we're still working together, and we're still building our business all these years. We've built another business together, and it's amazing. But that year, we did $500,000 in sales. 500,000. So it was really incredible. We even opened up a physical storefront that year and then closed it within 6 months because we realized that just wasn't what we wanted to do. A physical storefront is a whole different business model than an online business, and it's a really pain in the ass to run. And it took up all my time, and I literally felt like I was back at my office day job again. So it sucked. So for you guys that are into internet marketing, I just want to recommend, if you're ever going to feel like doing something physically in person, don't invest in a storefront, don't invest in a bunch of inventory. Do it the lean way. Do a pop-up shop, or just walk around where you want to do it, and have flyers, or have a tablet so you can show people your products. And that's how you would do it in person. So after that, after we got out of the shop, we were really burnt out from our business, and we just decided to sell it because, if you're burnt out from your business, even though you put so much time and effort into it, you're just not going to grow it to its potential. So we just sold it. I sold it on through Flippa, but I didn't actually sell it through Flippa. I found a buyer outside of Flippa, and we sold it for, the mid 5 figures. And we were really happy about that because at that point we had never had that amount of money before. So we took a whole year off. We traveled around the States. We got married and stuff like that. And it was just incredible. And I spent a lot of that time learning, and I spent a lot of the time spinning my wheels too, because I really didn't know what I was doing. Even though I had found success before, the way I had found success was by doing it the long and arduous way. The search engine algorithms had changed, social media had evolved, new methods and channels for marketing were now available. Paid ads were way easier to implement. And I just had a feeling that, after trying to start another business right away and it failed, or it didn't get any traction for a whole month, I just kind of got burnt out. And I said, I'm going to take some time off and I'm going to figure out what I really want to do. I spent time writing a book. We traveled. We spent time making YouTube videos and stuff like that, but nothing was really, catching on. So by the end of that year, we decided to start a new business, and we settled down in Long Beach, California. We found a little place that was cheap. We had just enough money to have that place for, a good 6 months. And it was within that 6 months, I had to do some freelancing. I had to build some websites for clients just to make ends meet. We had to drive for Uber and Lyft. And I spent all my time driving Uber and Lyft at night. And so I was putting my earbuds in my headphones and listening to business podcasts. It was the best way to get excited, motivated, and just keep that belief and keep that faith that it's all possible. And that was the most important part for me. So we started a new business after that, and we got really lucky. I actually was part of a mastermind course because one of the podcasts I listened to, called Build Your Online Store, has a guy named Travis Marziani, and he invited the listeners of the show to be part of a meetup group, a physical meetup group in Los Angeles. And so he said people to email him. So I emailed him that I was interested. He invited me out to Pasadena. I went out and met him. I told him my story. It was really cool. He's a great guy. He's really friendly. And there was a whole group of 10 people there, and I got to meet a guy named Greg, who eventually introduced me to a guy named Miles and his wife Melanie, and they're an amazing influence in our lives now. But that mastermind group really led me to where I am now, and it was the most important decision I ever made in my life, was to be a part of that meetup mastermind group. I also through that group, I was able to meet a guy named Justin Landsman, and he's out here in Chiang Mai now. Him and his wife Amanda are kind of on the parallel paths to us, so it's really amazing. And I was at a meetup, I think it was a few months later, where I met him. And then we started being a part of a mastermind call. Travis invited us to be on a mastermind call. It was $300 for a quarter. And I realized that there was no other way I was learning right now. I needed some kind of mentorship from someone who was successful. So I paid the money, and I was on a mastermind call once a week with these guys. I was trying to start a business. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just picking these random niches, and they were really broad. And I was trying to go with these distributors that had automatic inventory feeds, and nothing was working out. It wasn't profitable. I had no idea what to do with paid ads. And I had no idea how to make a good website again for some reason. So Justin introduced me to the idea of taking a course that he had taken called Dropship Lifestyle. And so I took that course, I signed up, and I decided to just do it. He had a money back guarantee, and I thought, what's the worst that can happen? I think it was right around $1,300 is what I paid when I first signed up. So it was quite a bit of money. And but I realized that if I was on my last $10,000 or something like that. And so we were going to go broke in about 2 months. Living in Los Angeles isn't cheap. Our expenses were really high, like $5,000, $6,000 a month. So it was either go broke in 2 months by not taking action, or take action now. Quit doing the Uber and Lyft, because that's just spinning wheels. You spend so much money in gas, you spend so much money in car maintenance that by the end of the month, you're not making much money. And the fees were going down that we were earning. So it was just ridiculous. But I realized that if I spent literally all my time for about a week or two straight, I could learn the course, take action, build a site, and start making sales. So we did it. And the first site that we built wasn't very successful because I was kind of cutting corners and taking shortcuts and not following the course to T. I was doing a broad niche site. And then all of a sudden something really cool happened. And the guy who I had sold the site to ended up reselling the site to someone else because he was burnt out from it. Because a niche is just like a super tough niche to sell in and do customer service in. And it sucks, honestly. But it sells. And so we just decided, what the heck, we'll bite the bullet. Let's get back into it. And we decided to create a new website around it because we knew it was a popular niche and there's opportunity. And we did, and it found success right away. We took the course to the T. It was a very specific niche, and we did the conversion rate optimization, we did the paid ads, and everything started working really well. So, this year we've done 500,000 in sales. I think it was 2016 we started, and that year we did about 300,000 in sales because we didn't start that website till like June or July. And so we've done really, really good. And all I can say, guys, is that I just want to wrap this story up. I highly recommend that you take a deep look into yourself and really discover what your number one best talent is and put 100% of your energy into that. I can't stress that enough. Don't be taken aside by all these shiny objects. If you're gonna do shiny object stuff, learn it, but take a step back and just learn and look and observe, and then decide whether you're going to pour your time into that. But keep doing the 80-20. While you're working, and work 80% where you know, and 20% you want to grow. And that's the same thing that Google does. Google tells all their employees 80% of your time is done doing your work, and 20% of your time should be done learning and creating new projects and stuff like that. And I highly recommend you guys do that too. The other tip is to manage your time wisely. Focus. Don't lose focus. It depends on who you are, but like a lot of people, if you're like me, you like to eat a lot. You need something to keep your mind away from being like unfocused and being distracted. So what I do a lot is I have some fruit. On the side of me, I have like this bag of fruit. I mean, this stuff's expensive back in the States, but here in Chiang Mai, you can buy a bag of fruit for like, I don't know, $2. It's amazing. So, fruit is really healthy. It's a good snack. So avoid drinking soda pop and stuff like that and eating, crappy food all the time. Try to eat something healthy, but have snacks so you can chew on something because the chewing keeps you focused, right? And then have some music in your ears. So, just play something and put some earbuds in it and have music while you work. It's really cool. So, those are my two major tips for staying focused there. But then just have that dream in the back of your mind, that goal of where you want to be. Goal setting is super important. That'll keep you on track for the rest of your life. So I made a list of these buzzwords that if you aren't like 100% familiar with e-commerce or with affiliate marketing or with building information products, things like that, you can look these up online. So I'll just go through these keywords. These are things you can type into YouTube or Google, and you can find resources that are free that'll teach you, everything that you would have to pay a lot of money to find, if you were to go to somewhere that like a university or something like that. And they don't even teach most of this stuff. So this is stuff you can find online. Obviously, e-commerce, the keyword drop shipping, which of course is something that is just a business model that's online, affiliate marketing, sales funnels, because sales funnels truly are the way that you should sell things and that you have to be successful with. It's capturing leads, it's providing value, it's bringing them back to your site, it's ascending them up your value ladder, all that stuff. Membership sites, type that in, and that'll teach you how to create a site where somebody pays a monthly membership in exchange for information or products. Information products. So that's kind of the products that are sold like courses or ebooks or, anything else that's just information based. Before it used to be a lot of, physical books and flyers, and it still is. But, today a lot of this can be sold online, and digital information products are very popular. Kindle publishing is a great business model to be in. However, things are changing and the algorithm is always changing. And so you have to be careful with that. And you can invest a lot of money and not see a lot of return if you don't do the marketing right and the promotions. Excuse me. So Kindle publishing is great though. I have a couple of books on Kindle as well. If you look up on Kindle and you type in, I believe it's drop shipping or the ultimate guide to drop shipping, beginner's guide to drop shipping, I got a book on there. So you can look up ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels is one of the software programs that you can use to create sales funnels. It's really good. Thrive Themes is a plugin for WordPress, and it's also themes for WordPress, but they're optimized and they're used to create sales funnels and all sorts of other things. So it's really cool. They also have Thrive Themes University, and that's a great learning source. WordPress is a website building platform, and it's one of the originals, and it's one of the best for blogging. And you can use it for e-commerce too, but I recommend Shopify for e-commerce. So if you don't know, Shopify is great. SEO, or search engine optimization, is a really good thing to learn. So if you just type that into YouTube, there's a ton of free resources on SEO as well as blogs. Email marketing is really awesome. Shopify has a great email marketing guide, and there's a lot of email marketing courses that are free on Udemy and even on YouTube. Squeeze page is one part of a sales funnel. Squeeze page is the most important part because that's where you get the email opt-in in order to follow up with somebody. And of course, the second most important part that goes along with that is your email marketing. So make sure you look up those together because those go hand in hand. Blogging is a really great way to bring in traffic and to create a following and to do affiliate marketing as well. Podcasting is another great way because a lot of people drive places, or they, in their daily commutes to places, they like to listen to podcasts and business podcasts. I have one. In fact, you can look up E-commerce Paradise in the iTunes store, and you can subscribe to the podcast there. This is going to be on the podcast as well. So if you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much. YouTubers. So a lot of people are YouTubers these days, and it's a great way to make money because all you do is create content, and you can create money through your YouTube channel, either through the YouTube ad program, Google AdSense, which really pays you pennies on the dollar for your content, so you shouldn't do it. But you can also create it through affiliate marketing by doing review videos, and you can also do it through membership sites by selling advanced learning packages and then creating the beginner learning packages for free on YouTube. Look up the Expert Secrets book. I highly recommend that book. It's awesome. It teaches you how to create a following, and this is where you start. You have to, realize what you're an expert at and use that to your advantage. And you want to help people. You want to really help people. Then read that book. .com Secrets. This is the book that teaches you how to create sales funnels, how to create your value ladder, and how to sell your products, how to do a webinar and all that stuff. Dropship Lifestyle. It's a great training program. They're the ones that really helped us set ourselves free, and I can't recommend them enough. Of course, E-commerce Paradise. Check me out on the iTunes store and also on YouTube. I have a lot of great videos on there. One of the greatest YouTubers, I really like what he's doing. He actually runs a bunch of successful software companies. His name is Alex Becker, and he's got some really funny YouTube videos. Some people don't like him so much. Some people do. I didn't add him in there, but Gary V is a really cool guy. Makes a lot of great videos. Gary Vaynerchuk, super, super motivational guy. My buddy and a really, really nice guy, and also one of the smartest marketers I know is Miles Beckler, and his podcast is Miles Beckler Podcast, and he has a YouTube channel, Miles Beckler, and his website, milesbeckler.com. He teaches how to do sales funnels. He teaches you how to do internet marketing, how to do Facebook ads. Really good. So he's one of the best. Anton Kraly is actually the guy behind Dropship Lifestyle. I highly recommend him as far as mentor goes. Take his courses and go look up Dropship Lifestyle on YouTube. He's got a ton of great videos. Russell Brunson, he's the guy behind Expert Secrets and .com Secrets. He's the guy behind ClickFunnels and all the other courses that are related to that. I highly recommend learning from him because he really knows what he's talking about, and I really like him as a teacher too because he's very straightforward and very easy to listen to. So one of the main books that I read as I was becoming an entrepreneur, and this only cost me like $9 or $10. It's one of those like close to free kind of investments that all I really needed to do was invest my time to learn more, was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is made by a guy named Robert Kiyosaki, and I definitely recommend looking him up on YouTube as well. But a few really good lessons that I learned from that book are that you, number one, need to think about working in order to learn. So you don't necessarily want to work for money because working for money is spinning your wheels. You're never going to create an asset. You're never going to learn. But understand if you have to work, you want to learn how that business works that you're working for, because those lessons will help you for the rest of your life. That's what I was doing at my company. I was learning how that business worked from the inside out. I literally worked at every single position that company worked for, or that company had and offered, besides the upper management. I worked at all the lower positions in that company, and I learned how it worked from the inside out. It was a distributor, and they did a lot of drop shipping for other online retailers and locksmiths. So I learned how drop shipping worked kind of from the distributor standpoint, and I was a part of that, and I was doing a lot of cool stuff, Number two, always build assets like businesses and brands. Understand that if you build an asset in your life, it's actually something you can sell later on for a lot of money. And that's what you want. That's what you need. That's your retirement plan right now. Every dropship site you build is an asset. Every YouTube video you make is an asset. Every piece of content you make is an asset. And the other thing you can think of them as a salesman, a little digital online salesman. So your YouTube videos are salesmen for you and your brand. Your every product listing is a salesman for that product. So the more you do, the more you expand in different places where people are online, the more little salesmen you have out there selling for you. So
You got to train your salesmen really well. So you got to make them look pretty, and you got to make them know how to sell. And I got a lot of other videos on how to sell and podcast episodes. So we'll teach that later. Number 3, instead of telling yourself you can't afford something, ask yourself how you can afford it. And that was one of the most powerful things that I learned growing up. I realized that, okay, so instead of telling myself I can't afford that cruise or I can't afford this vacation, how can I afford it? And it gets your mind thinking. It gets your wheels spinning. It makes you realize, maybe I can afford it. And then it's that first step to believing, and then to coming up with a solution. And you start learning how to do problem solving. And that's one of the key traits of an entrepreneur is problem solving. I remember in elementary school, one of the teachers said to my parents, said, the one thing I like about your kid is that he's a really good problem solver. And that's what I've always been really good at, was just solving people's problems, solving mathematical problems, solving whatever problem was in front of me. And that's just something I'm natural at. When somebody tells me, oh, my life is, I say, well, you could do this, or this, choose a path. That's a solution to your problem. A lot of people don't take the paths because, they just don't want to for whatever reason. But still, the essence is that I'm trying to solve problems. And that's key. Number 4, buy assets, not liabilities. So if you're going to buy something, like let's say a car, just understand that a car is the worst depreciating liability you can possibly have. Depreciating asset, really. A liability is something that costs you money every month. It doesn't make you money every month. So if you're going to buy something, buy an asset. Yes, it's hard to buy assets. They're usually pretty expensive, but you can go to places like flippa.com and you can actually find cash flowing websites and maybe find a good deal, and you could buy a website for like $500 or $1,000. So if you're going to spend $500, $1,000 on a down payment on a car, save that money, buy a website, learn how to build it, make some money with affiliate marketing or drop shipping, and all of a sudden you can pay for that car within a year, cash, or maybe not, but you can still pay for the down payment in cash. And that's key. So buy assets, not liabilities. Number 5, partner with a mentor to help them for free so that you can get mentorship for free. So yeah, it's not as easy as it sounds, obviously. But if you offer a mentor to help them for free, and mentors need help, like these are people that are business people that they usually have to pay a lot of money for help. If you come to them with a lot of enthusiasm and a great attitude and you say, I'm willing to help you in exchange for mentorship to teach me how this business works so I can go out and start a business of my own, they're more likely than not going to say, yeah, that's fine. You got to approach them at the right time, and you got to know if they're actually interested or not. And if you get turned down, so what? There's always more mentors out there. Choose a mentor that's doing something that you want to do, and choose somebody that's actually successful and that can, prove that somehow in some way. All right, so with that said, I'm going to recommend some books and courses to you guys so you can do some continued education. Let me know what you guys